Frontrunners. This is Eric Booth in New York, celebrating the start of your How to Be a Successful Musician series from the EUIO. Well done! It's an important subject, and I'm glad you're committing yourselves to it. I believe in this, and let me start with my own story of how I got into classical music. Poor, innocent theater professional in New York, especially Shakespearean actor. I was hired by Juilliard to start the teaching artist program at Juilliard. And when we started, it's Juilliard. It thinks it's the mothership. And over there on the side was this little pocket of graduate students of music who were interested in this emerging idea of teaching artist. And there was a lot of attitude about this little program, a lot of condescension. It's like, oh, isn't that great? They like kiddies. Boy, those careers are going to go nowhere. All this looking down their nose at people who wanted to expand their careers beyond the tunnel vision that Juilliard Music was all about. So this program grew quietly, attracting more students, training them well to have expanded careers, and we did a little research after about 10 years. And those students who had chosen the wider path for their careers, a wider definition of a life in music, were not only having more interesting careers. Very few had traditional orchestra jobs. They were in creative control of their lives with programs and with chamber groups that were doing all kinds of interesting things. They had creative control of their careers, and they were making more money. That, to me, is the forerunner, the front runner of the 21st century successful musician. Sometimes think of it as being a ninja musician who can knock the socks off a traditional orchestral challenge or any difficult piece of music in chamber music, but isn't satisfied with that. Actually wants to make the world they have in mind. It brings up a thought about what does the word success really mean? Etymologically, I'm an etymology freak interested in the origins of words. Originally, it didn't have anything to do with money or status, this notion of success. It actually meant to have a follow-through, as in the succession of queens and kings. So you have a successful 21st century music career if it is building momentum, if you are more interested in the next project than you were in the previous one, if interesting creative project leads to the next interesting creative project, and to pull off a career like that, you need to be listening to what you hear in this Frontrunner series. There's a group I work with at Carnegie Hall that's called Ensemble Connect. And these are hotshot musicians graduates from the best conservatories. And they come to Carnegie Hall for 2 years to quite explicitly expand their skill set, to become teaching artists, to develop entrepreneurial projects, to work with partner organizations to create interesting musical events. And I spend quite a bit of time with them over their years at Carnegie Hall, helping them develop a personal vision and a personal mission statement. That vision statement is, what do you personally want to bring into the world? What is distinctively the expression of your musical spirit that you are passionate to bring into the world? And the mission statement is how you're going to do it. And I generally find that in the early going, they have pretty vague ideas about those mission statements. Things like, oh, I'm going to play great music for all people for the rest of my life. But as they get more and more aware of their own distinctive musical voice, their own ideas of what they want to accomplish, they start sharpening that vision. And when that vision gets sharp, and they have good ideas for their mission, how they're going to accomplish it, that gives a jumpstart to amazing careers. The one example is Evan Primo, who he was slow to create a vision and mission, but his friends reminded him, "You're always talking about doing chamber music out in the countryside. Maybe that's got something to do with it." And indeed it did. He had developed this vision of a chamber music series in a rural setting, and he pursued it. And within just a handful of years, he had founded an organization in rural farm country of Vermont, Scrag Mountain Music, in which he was producing a highly successful series year-round of the chamber music he loved. It allowed him to compose, to bring in his best friends from around the country, to these concerts in barns and public areas where the chamber music he loved was played in the setting that mattered to him. He was married, he had kids, he lived in a beautiful country place, all because he solidified his vision and had a mission for how to pursue it. In your Frontrunner series, you're going to hear from a lot of extraordinarily successful people, all of whom are urging you toward that same kind of goal. Find out what you want to bring into the world while you're at this formative stage of your careers and start pursuing it. The 21st century musician has an entrepreneurial component to it. You can't just kick back, do the auditions, and think it'll happen. And I can assure you, from the hundreds and hundreds of musicians I have guided through this process, challenging as it may be, pursuing the 21st century career is the one that pays off for a lifetime. I'm glad you're engaging in these front-runner opportunities, and I'm especially grateful to the EUIO for offering it. Good luck.